Welcome to Truth in the Buff. I'm Trevor, and with me is Buff Perry, who has made some recent discoveries about the Oak Island mysteries, and we are here to do an update for you. Here you are, Buff, take it away.
Okay, so further to the first 3 episodes on the Truth in the Buff channel is this update, and it happened since we filmed the last of the 3 episodes. I've been in touch with someone in Austria who argues that he's got a technology, he's a co-partner with the inventor of this technology, that is able to penetrate one way or the other into depths not normally available by any remote sensing technologies. I'm not completely sold on this, so I can claim a major discovery if it is accurate and if it really works the way that I've been told it does. If it doesn't, then the discovery is, moot. But if it works, and if what I've been told has been discerned with this new technology on Oak Island, we've got a huge breakthrough now. Where the cross is on Oak Island, and that cross on Oak Island is made of these great big giant boulders that are called glacial erratics. They're called glacial erratics because they're erratically sorted out by the movement and the melting and receding of glaciers. So there were all these big boulders on Oak Island, not in a perfect cross configuration, but obviously someone came along and put the boulders in relationship to each other so that the boulders formed a perfect intersection. But it's an intersection that looks like a cross with what would be the vertical part of the cross being much longer than the crossbar part of the cross. So okay, that was found in the grass on Oak Island, and I think it was in the middle '60s by one of the other owners of property on the island. And what this new technology has discerned is a chamber that is beneath, and according to the people who have used this new technology, they didn't even know that these boulders were there. I'm the one that told them about it first.
Right.
The chamber that they have discerned, that they claim there's jewelry, gold, and silver in, is right beneath the base boulder. That would be, if these boulders were standing vertically, would be the boulder at the very bottom, and that would be probably where a treasure would be hidden in any event for people of a later generation. So this goes to the argument about Knights Templar being the reason that those boulders were put into that configuration. They're said to have been on the Oak Island, hiding their treasure, and given that is one of the theories about the Oak Island treasure, here we have this juxtaposing of such an amazing set of items, if we want to call them that, the cross with the boulders and then what's underneath them, that it really warrants some further investigation. But I think first what has to be done is the proving of the existence of this chamber underneath the base boulder on Oak Island, not in the area where the money pit is, or any of the new boreholes that have been drilled are. This is in another part of the island. It traverses 2 different ownership aspects, so it's going to take some while to get through all that. But assuming we do, and assuming that the people who use this technology to discern this underground chamber come forward with how it works, which they're not doing with me or anybody else so far, I think then we can really take off with this big breakthrough. And again, if the technology is for real, and if it really is discerning what the two proponents and users of it say it is, we've got the solution to where the treasure is on Oak Island, and it's not in the money pit. It's somewhere in another area.
Right. And so how long do you think it will be until we see some sort of peaceability to find the answers that we need?
People right now are scrambling because of my discovery and because of my refusal to provide personal phone numbers to individuals who are trying to get a hold of each other and do an end run on my discovery.
Right.
So I've withheld any information with those people, and they're now, some of them are talk show hosts, some of them are otherwise. They're attempting to get this together on their own, but they're not operating on the basis of the theories I have.
Right.
A major important point to all this is that the theories that I've already been expressed in part 1, 2, and 3, or episode 1, 2, and 3 of Truth in the Buff channel, is that they conform perfectly with this discovery. If this is a real discovery, they conform perfectly. That, the gold was taken out in 1746 and so on. That works with this whole theory that there is no more treasure left in the money pit itself, but there is a so-called Templar treasure somewhere else on the island.
Right.
So it could take, if people were really, really humble about this and honest and forthcoming, it wouldn't even take a year to get this done. But if everybody's going to be arguing over, not only the ownership issue, but issues of whether or not the technology actually works before they spend the money to start drilling to determine if that chamber is there, those kinds of things will take a long time. We've got to make sure that technology works and know why, for example, it hasn't been patented, because if it has been patented, then they could reveal and release the way that it works, and they're still not doing that. So I have some big questions about that. That said, though, it's a major coincidence that the boulder, the first boulder of that cross, and it's an interesting day to be talking about this, by the way, Easter weekend. I mean, we couldn't have a better time to be bringing this up. Well, there are several controversial aspects to this that all could be resolved if we followed a sensible, logical, set of stepping stones. We call them boulders, if we will, and get this technology cleared up first, and then look at what is in that chamber, if there is a chamber, right. And we may end up having what has been identified as being part of the Templar treasure. Then we have to reconstruct issues of when would the Templars have been here, which ones would have had anything to do with putting their treasure in this particular location and not the money pit. And then the other question is, how many different separated treasure locations are there on the island, if there are any? And I'm sure there are, because of the Spanish coins that have been found, and because I think I can reasonably and plausibly argue that the Jacobites really did take the last of the gold out of the money pit over to Scotland for the last Jacobite rebellion, which was the Battle of Culloden, and it was already lost before the gold arrived. We know that's history of Britain on record, and now they're trying to find where that gold was hidden. So in some ways, this whole mystery will never be completely solved.
That's a lot of bones hidden across a really big yard. Figuratively speaking,
many different species.
Yeah.
and kind of spooky, maybe the human species as well.
So, just a side question here. Do you have any particular guesses how many treasures might actually be buried out on Oak Island?
Well, I'm quite certain that the gold was taken out of the pit in 1746.
Right.
So the pit is an obvious location, especially now that they've also found those Spanish coins from the 1600s. But this location that we're talking about, under the base boulder of the cross that covers a large part of the island, is a separate location. So I would say probably there's two, if not more.
Yeah.
And it is an area where pirates did sail around. That's also on record. It's well known that area, Mahone Bay, and that general area on the eastern side of Nova Scotia is one that had been frequented by different pirates, and clearly pirates are associated with treasures. So that's That's where that logic goes. I don't think there's any hoax actually going on here. I just have some questions about this new technology and why we can't get a handle on what it is that it's doing. How can they be finding, on one hand, how can they be finding gold, silver, and jewels in the imagery that they're processing, but they can't tell me what the geological structure of the chamber is?
Right.
If you can, because we know that there's a quartzite till deep down associated with Oak Island and some of the other islands in the area. So quartzite would be picked up because of the crystalline lattice work. Since they're picking up jewels, which would be mostly crystal, oriented or crystal related precious stones and so forth. Why would this technology not be picking up the type of geological features that should be discernible in this chamber and also in the trail? Here's the big punchline to the doubters, of which I count myself, although I'm more than 50-50 and also inclined to think there is a big discovery here. The technology clearly, this new technology, remote sensing technology, it clearly picks up crystalline structures. So because there is a quartzite till, which is an underground mound of quartzite, we have that down here at Rossdale Flats, where we're going to be here in a little bit today. The quartzite should be discernible by this technology, given that it's also said to have discerned jewels, and jewels are generally associated with crystalline lattice work and so forth. Why wouldn't they be able to pick up the geological structures that make up the chamber, and then the underground passageway, the tunnel that gets you to, they're telling me that there's also a tunnel. Well, let's get into it. Let's see it, but let's first understand if somebody's going to spend $500,000 on drilling and trying to open all this up. What's the basis of that investment? How secure is that investment? Just hearsay? If these people are not going to tell us how the technology works, then people with the money who would pay to have the investigation conducted are going to be that much more reserved about putting out hundreds of thousands of dollars, more dollars. It's cost the Laguna brothers millions so far. Would they be prepared to take that step and just on hearsay from two people who are not prepared to divulge the nuts and guts and bolts of the technology, just on their word, go ahead and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars only to find that there was really nothing there.
Right.
I'm not saying that that's what would be found. I'm inclined. It's interesting. It's a compelling argument, especially since this juxtaposing of the base of the cross with the chamber. The real downside issue here would be that those guys already knew that's where the cross was, and they're swearing to me that they had no idea there was even a cross right up to the time they sent me the image of where they have discerned this chamber to be. When I told them, well, that's exactly where the base of the cross is, they said, what cross? What cross? It's in all this literature, everything that's been published about Oak Island, we have it. So, some other theories have been made about this. There's the idea that the cross is associated with the Kabbalistic tree of life, the Rosicrucian cross, and so forth. That goes to whether or not, it was the Templars, and did the Templars cultivate Rosicrucianism? Did they cultivate the Kabbalistic form of mysticism in Judaism and so on? And no one's 100% certain of that. We do know some things about mysticism that was cultivated by the Knights Templar. Whether or not that goes to then setting up older crosses that reflect the tree of life of the Rosicrucians or of the Kabbalists, and then the Rosicrucian cross is another matter altogether.
Well, thank you very much for the update, and we look forward to hearing more.
Okay.
Cheers.